so nice to see you.
Same here. I'm just pinning the comment with our topic and your name.
Sorry, what's that again?
I'm pinning the comment with your name and
Oh,
the topic.
okay, amazing. Thank you for doing that. Nice. I can see people commenting.
Pin.
Thank you, everybody that is watching. Amazing. You want to get started or you want to wait a couple minutes to see if people join in?
Uh, Maybe we can start talking about what the clock is,
Yes.
basically.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you want
Yeah.
to start? Because I've already done a lot of.
I, I think I'm gonna ask you, or maybe I can try, and then if I say something that is not right, you can of course correct me. But yeah, basically
Okay.
we wanted to come online today because Kriti has made this amazing infographic about the Ayurvedic clock and time of day, and we have been sharing it. And we have been receiving comments and questions from people who seem to be a little bit confused, and we wanted to clear it up. Of course, there's a lot in her wonderful caption that you should all go read. But basically, it's a chart that goes through the times of the days, and it tells you which dosha predominates in each time of the day. So, if I'm not mistaken, from 2 a.m. to is it 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. would be Vata time, and then from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. we would have. I'm gonna ask you how to say it because I see people saying kapha and people saying kappa.
It's
So
kapha. The ph makes a fur.
okay, because I hear people that say kappa, and also in Japanese they translated it as kappa. So I never know which one is correct. Now I know. So from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. we have the kapha time of day. 10 a.m., 2 p.m., Pitta, and then it kind of goes and repeats itself. And
Yeah.
these are the times at which the characteristics, we could say, of each dosha kind of predominate. So if we want to take the Vata time of day, it's the time for more creativity, it's more airy energy, it's more colder energy, it's the time that we can take for kind of be creative. Karma
Yes.
Yoga, I think you wrote also in your
Yeah. So
yeah.
anything that requires action would
Yeah,
be good for Vata time. Even your elimination process, because it's all movement, right? You cannot eliminate or cleanse the body without movement. So
hmm,
Vata time is the most supportive for that. So a lot of people who have Vata disorders like constipation, uh,
yeah,
for them waking up during Vata hours and doing some cleansing during that time is very beneficial.
amazing. So I not just for them, right? For everybody, waking up during the Vata time is the best time for us to wake
Yeah,
up.
yeah, it is the best time for us.
Yes,
Because if we wake up during kapha time, the kapha increases in the body and you feel heavier throughout the day and you
exactly.
feel less productive, you'll feel more lethargic. So it is better to wake up during Vata time.
Exactly. So when we look at that clock that you made that says from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., it's that kapha time where
Yeah,
the energy is more lethargic, it's more grounding, it's kind of like pulling you down and you feel heavier. And I'm
yeah,
sure anybody who is watching can relate that if you oversleep and you, and you wake up anytime from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Actually, the later, the worse, because
yeah.
that kind of energy begins to build up around you, and it also builds up in your body, and that's why I don't know if we say this in English, but in Spain we say the more you sleep, the more you want to sleep.
Yes,
So
yes, definitely that happens.
same calls same, and the more kappa, the more grounded we are, the more we don't want to move, and we
The
end up
lazier we
getting
get.
we end up being just there in our blanket, we don't want to go anywhere. And then from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. the pitta time of the day comes, and that's the time to get things on, right?
Yes. Yeah, so your fire is so high, and fire is all concentration and it's so focused. So that is when you want to divert all your attention to whatever you're doing, and the results will be really good.
Yeah.
So your one-pointed focus attention should be during Pitta time. And also your heaviest meal, because the Agni is so high. If we don't have our heaviest meal at this time, we risk digestion problems. And that's why when our immunity starts going low, Agni is the immunity of the body.
Yeah.
So not having the largest meal or skipping that meal is definitely going to mess up your Agni. It's definitely going to mess up your immunity.
Right. This is very interesting because I feel like a lot of people, they don't have time to work out at other times of day. And it's kind of the default that I'm just going to do it at lunchtime and eat my lunch later, right? We hear this a lot.
Yes.
What would be your take on that?
So what happens is we need to understand, like in Ayurveda, everything is properties. We have to look at what energy it is bringing to the body. So exercise is drying and heaty. Yeah. So if we have to balance the fire, are we going to add more fire to it?
Right.
So this is something you need to really, it's once you understand the concepts and the basics of Ayurveda, you actually just have to ask yourself the question and it becomes very clear. So
I agree.
Because of fire also dries out the body, right? If you burn something, it becomes extremely dry. So again, the pitta will increase. You will have indigestion. IBS is very common with people who exercise during lunch. It's not good.
Yes. It's not good also because I guess because you're exercising during lunch, you will end up taking your meal at other time that is not as suited.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I think I mentioned that in the caption or the infographic. I'm not sure, but I will repeat it. If we take our meal, we skip our lunch during Pitta time or we take it later. Vata is wind. So Vata is the brain. It's a lot of movement of the mind. So the mind becomes foggy. Yeah, we haven't fueled the body enough to get that energy to the brain during Pitta time. So that's when, you feel you become more moody, you crave caffeine, you crave sugar to keep the energy up in the body. So everyone wants that quick coffee boost to wake themselves up. But again, coffee and all stimulants derange the vata because again, they're drying.
Yeah.
So in the long term, it's more harmful.
Yeah, it is. We're talking a lot about the doshas and that clock that you made. I would recommend people who are watching this, if they haven't, to go look at the clock because I don't think we can show it and share our screen here and like go through it. But please go look at the clock. So we are talking about the fact that the day is broken down by doshas, and at each time of the day, a dosha predominates. Now, going from here, a question that I see a lot and that people send me a lot is like, oh, so if I'm Pitta, like if my Prakriti is Pitta, should I focus only on the Pitta time of day? Like, am I supposed to be active during the time of day that matches my constitution?
Okay, so this is one misconception that goes around in Ayurveda and it creates a lot of confusion, that our Prakriti is the only element that is there in the body. That is not true. We have all the elements in our body. We have Vata, we have Pitta, we have Kapha. So think of a glass of lemonade. It has 3 ingredients. It has water, it has sugar, and it has lemon, right?
Yeah.
So just because it has a lot of water doesn't mean that water is the most important part of the drink. You need the right amount of sugar, you need the right amount of lemon. Right? Yeah. So if you put too much lemon in it, the taste of the lemon gets imbalanced, right? The whole drink gets imbalanced. So you have to maintain all the doshas. You have to maintain each and every ingredient in that amount. Yeah. So our body has all the three prakritis. Now we have to balance all of them, just because, for example, my prakriti is Pitta Vata. Yeah.
Same.
So that doesn't mean I cannot get a kapha imbalance. I can, if I don't take care of my body. If my pitta gets lowered, my agni gets lowered, my kapha can get imbalanced. I can have a sinus, I can have a phlegmy cough. That day, if I
Yeah.
oversleep, I do feel phlegm in my,
Yeah.
filling up my body.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you
So
have to make sure that we are balanced in every part of the day. We are balancing every prakriti, not the prakriti, the dosha in the body. Our
yes.
prakriti is beneficial to maintain a balance, because that is what is more. So that is what we can change and play around with a little more. It helps us to understand our own nature. For example, if my
Exactly.
prakriti is vata, I should try and do more creative things than do something like what suits a pitta. Pittas are more intellectual, pittas are planners. So it just helps to understand the self and organize the self a little bit. That doesn't mean we ignore the other doshas in the body.
Correct. Thank you very much for that explanation. I'm gonna twist it a little bit there. And actually, I would think that, for example, if my predominant dosha is Pitta, if I am the most active during the Pitta time of day, I would think that actually I would be doing something that is counterintuitive, because let's go with the lemonade example, right? It's a water and lemon and sugar. And if my predominant nature is lemon, and I go into a pool of lemon, my lemon will get excessive. So I would think that if I'm
Exactly.
Pitta and I go crazy during Pitta time, like now's my time, I'm gonna do everything, when already Pitta around me is kind of racing, that's when I am
Yeah,
actually more prone to imbalance my own nature. So I would say,
exactly.
yeah,
That is the time you should use to balance your prakriti. Rather than
right.
doing of more and pushing yourself, you should take that time to balance. For example, I'm vata. If I'm prone to dryness,
Yeah.
I would prefer waking up during vata time and doing an abhyanga, which is an oil massage that will
Yes.
balance the vata, rather than running around and doing
Yes.
movements that will dry me out even more.
Exactly. That makes a lot of sense. And I hope that it helps clear out that idea that I'm this, I have to match this. And because I match this, I have to do all the activities that it identifies it, because
Yeah.
inadvertently you are aggravating it. And then you kind of don't understand where all these imbalances are coming from, because you think I am
Yeah.
doing everything that I'm supposed to do. What is happening?
Yeah,
But
and it's not a
yeah,
law. It's not a law. It's not like you have to do everything, every activity in
right.
there. You have to do what suits you best. And
Yes,
every day you can do a different thing. Like if today during Vata time I want to do Karma Yoga, I will do Karma Yoga. But tomorrow, if during Vata time I want to paint, I will paint, because
exactly.
that's what I feel like doing. So
Yeah.
it's not that you have to do all the activities at the same time and push yourself that this is the only thing I can
Mm,
do. No.
yeah. And that's what I find so interesting about Ayurveda, is that actually when you stop to think about it, it's quite intuitive, because the characteristics of the doshas are things that we all can either see or feel or touch or kind of relate to. Like intuitively, you can tell this is hot, this is cold, this is drying, this is
Yeah.
not. And it's a rule of opposites. If this is dry, how do I balance it? You are going to add moisture to it like you would with anything else, like with an
Yeah.
experiment in your kitchen. It's kind of like that.
Exactly. And I feel it teaches you to listen to your body.
Mm,
Because a lot of time when we are eating, we're distracted. We're either on our phones or we're watching television.
yeah.
If you actually slow down the Ayurvedic way and just see what's happening to your body when you're eating something, it is very beneficial to yourself. Then you're not looking for answers all over. Oh, why is this happening to me? What caused the imbalance? Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
the thing is, at different times of the day, different foods will suit you, and even in different seasons
Yes.
the doshas change, which that's my next series, which I'm going to do. the seasonal chart.
I'm looking forward already. I actually, about the seasons, one thing that maybe I would like to say is that it also depends on the country, I would think, because
Uh,
climates are different.
No, more than the
So,
country, the hemisphere. If you're in the northern
right.
hemisphere, there is one season that predominates. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it's the opposite. For example, if it's spring in the north, in the
Yeah.
south, it's autumn. So
Yeah.
the principles still apply. The
Okay.
seasons are still the same. Uh,
Okay.
you just have to do it according to your hemisphere.
One doubt that I often have, by the way, is that the monsoon season, for example, is not the same everywhere. I've heard about the monsoon season being a Vata season, and
Yes.
I believe that's the case for India, right? But for example, in Japan, the monsoon season actually happens between spring and summer. So it's not a late summer thing. And
Yeah.
while it's very rainy, of course, because it's a monsoon, it's not windy at all. So the way that I feel the monsoon season happens here in Japan is more kapha
Fine.
than
Yeah. So you
vata,
see that the
right?
timing is still the same.
Yeah, correct.
So it's more
Yeah.
about the timing and where the sun is more than, for example, here in
Yeah.
India, this is supposed to be spring. But because there are climatic changes, there is global warming, it's become
Mm-hmm.
hotter and it rains also sometimes. But because it's raining, it doesn't make it Vata season. It's actually the
Mm-hmm.
placement of the sun and the
Mm-hmm.
earth. It is
Mm.
not to do with the weather because the weather is a
Okay.
little moody these days.
It is very interesting. That's super interesting. And let me go on to like one of the questions that we received, right?
Yeah.
One of the questions that I had was, how do you actually combine and make sure that you're able to follow this Ayurvedic clock or your circadian rhythm when you're working a 9 to 5 and you're kind of restricted, right, in the things that you can do for yourself because you have to go to work and earn
Yeah.
that money? How do
So
you?
that's actually a very, very good question because majority of the people have a lifestyle
Yeah.
like that. But so the things that are in our hand and are in our control is probably our exercise routine. So we have to
Mm,
wake up early and exercise before. We want to make sure that we are eating a home cooked warm meal before we go. Um,
mm,
to work. Now, our work is also not like the same kind of thing. We have different tasks. We can be
yeah.
creative in our work. We need, sometimes our work needs our full concentration and dedication, right? So we can divide our work and our tasks according to the energy that predominates. So if you reach your work at 9 o'clock, for example, 9 to 10 is still kapha time. So you take that time and you take that time to plan what your task is, what your day is, how you're going to go about it, and maybe set some intentions for your day and
Mm,
your work. At 10 to 2, you do all the work that requires your concentration and your
yeah.
effort, your brain. And then anything that is creative or needs people around, uh, like team meetings and everything, would be
Mm.
better to do post lunch. Your
Okay, I see.
2 o'clock onwards. And then
Yeah.
hopefully by 6 o'clock, you're done with work. And then you have to make sure that you're eating your meal, you carry it with you, or you
Okay.
order it from a local place. You have to make sure you're eating your meal on time and that you're not skipping your meals because of work.
Mm, right.
Because
That's
a lot
very
of
important.
people do that. No, we have a meeting, we can't do this. You have to schedule your day
Mm,
according to this.
that's very true. It's very easy to get like distracted and end up eating later. And I think the opposite also happens. Not only just skipping meals, but working overtime and then getting home super late, closer to pita nighttime.
Yeah.
And then what would your advice be for a case like this? What do you do?
Carry your meal with you. Just
Carry a
carry your
meal with
meal
you.
with you. Yeah.
Very
Don't
useful.
skip it. Like carry it,
Mm.
order it. And in India, there are a lot of options for getting home cooked meals at
Oh,
work.
wow.
I don't know if that's the case in Japan, but I'm sure there are like smaller places. So avoid eating from a restaurant, uh,
Yeah.
because they make
Yeah.
food in bulk and the quality may not be that good. But
Mm.
you may order from a smaller place like a cafe, that
Yeah.
makes food daily and on a smaller scale, and it's fresher. So that
Yeah.
will help.
Yeah. What would you say is the latest possible time that it's okay to have your last meal before pita time kicks in and you have to go to sleep?
Um,
Because I do see, by the way, I do see this sometimes. I've seen advice regarding intermittent fasting and things like that, and people mentioning Ayurveda in the name of this intermittent fasting advice. Ayurveda also recommends this, blah, blah.
no.
And then when you look at what they're advising, they're saying things along the lines of like, have your last meal at 10 p.m. and and then skip breakfast. And of course, the premise of fasting is to skip meals. It's a thing that happens,
Yeah.
but the having your last meal so late at 10 p.m. in order, to have breakfast
Yeah.
in the name of Ayurveda never sat right with me.
Yeah.
So
It's not
yeah.
Ayurveda. It is a non-Ayurvedic lifestyle. You can do it if you want
Mm.
to. If you're
Yeah, of
sleeping
course.
very late, you cannot sleep on an empty stomach. You will not get a good sleep. So if you're
Mm.
sleeping very late, have a very, very, very light meal, like some curd rice, or not. Don't have fruits. A lot of people make that mistake of having fruits at night.
Oh wow.
Ayurveda says do not have fruits post sundown, because fruits create a lot of water retention in the body,
Mm.
and because our Agni is really low after sundown, we don't want to have fruits. We want to have something very light,
I see.
like a
That's
lentil soup or some
okay.
rice.
That's a very good idea. Actually, I actually never realized about the fact about fruits. Now I regret having a banana for suhoor the other day, but just pretend that didn't happen. Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing.
Sorry for coming back to your question. How the last meal should actually be 3 hours before you go to sleep, because
Okay,
your body needs energy to digest, and when you sleep, your body is taking that energy to repair your cells and organs and
exactly.
rest. So if you're going to go to sleep, uh, neither happens. You don't. The energy gets split, so the food doesn't get digested properly, nor does your restoration happen properly.
Okay, I agree with that. I fully agree with that, and that's why I have been recommending people to go to sleep even during Ramadan and and fast during the day.
Yeah, when you're fasting, you need more sleep because your organs
Yeah,
need more regeneration and more rest.
exactly. But unfortunately, a lot of people stay up all night, and then the whole Ayurvedic clock does not apply anymore. I think this is a question that I also received before, and I responded to in my stories, where
Yeah,
somebody asked me if I don't even remember. There was one today about working out at 2 a.m. before eating suhoor, and then going to sleep, and that made me wonder. Like, I understand the reason behind, like,
yeah,
because you want to do your practice, right? You feel like
yeah,
you don't want to push your practice aside for a month. You want to still do your practice, and you're trying to fit the puzzle and like squeeze it in there somewhere where it
yeah.
makes sense. But it's still the night. It's still when the sun is down, and that's the time that your body should be using for restoration, according
Restoration,
to yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, and also 2 a.m. Is when the Vata time starts. It's drying, and
yeah.
if you exercise during that time, you're going to dry out the body even more. So you'll be getting more aches and pains throughout the day. You'll be more tired throughout the day. So Kapha time is actually the best time to exercise because your body is uh, producing more, say, strength at that time. It's more moist at that time. It's easier to move around. In Vata time, if you try to move your body around too much, you'll hear that crackling sound as well.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah. So that
Yeah.
increases, and that's something that may damage the body in the long run
Mm,
because the muscles start to get drier.
yeah.
And so when you get older, that starts to show. When we are young, it doesn't show that much. Um,
Yeah.
but post 50, 60, it starts to
Yeah.
start showing in the body.
Yeah. Eventually, everything catches up with us. We can't run from
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kriti. I think I don't have any other questions. I think we kind of covered it a little bit, like the whole clock and the fact that, your dosha and the Ayurvedic, they are two different realities. They are related, but they are not necessarily linked to each other. Like you don't have to match them.
Yeah.
And we looked a little bit about how to adapt that to a regular lifestyle, nine to
There
five.
is
Yeah.
one thing that a particular Prakriti can do that can be a little individualistic, is that sleep, the amount of time you're sleeping. So Kaphas need less
Ooh.
sleep. Uh,
Okay.
Pittas need moderate sleep. Vatas need a lot of sleep. So your time to wake up kind of changes. So if you're sleeping at
Okay.
10 p.m., which is the
Yeah.
time you should be falling asleep, Vatas can sleep for 8 hours. Your Pittas can sleep for again 6 to 7 hours. Your Kaphas can sleep 6 hours. So the time you wake up kind of changes.
Shift us
Uh,
a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. So that is the only thing I think that is very, very specific to a Prakriti. But
Okay.
beyond that, I don't think so.
Okay. Beyond that, I guess we should be aware that there are other, I mean, it's the same energies, the same doshas, but they are around us, belonging to the weather, things, everything that we interact with. And that interacts with our own Prakriti, but it's not
Yeah.
the same, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
again, a reminder that we have all doshas in us. If we
We do.
just continue to work on one dosha, the others suffer and tend to get imbalanced. So we should be in harmony with all of them. That's where the clock helps, to
Yeah.
be in connection with all the doshas instead of just your Prakriti.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your insights. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to leave here as a reminder. Anything else? Or a
I
question?
think
Nothing?
I think I have covered everything. If anyone has
Yeah.
questions, they can ask us.
Yeah.
Um, but I think we have covered most doubts, so there should not be any
Yeah.
questions.
I had a lot of fun actually talking to you
Same
like this.
here. I
And
think we should do more of this.
I was going to say the same thing. Get out of my head. Uh, we should definitely do this again sometime. And I love
Yeah,
talking with you. And I hope that it
same here.
has been useful to whoever is watching and that they enjoy it. And we'll be in touch. Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to leave this on my stories for another 24 hours, and I think I'll download it and put it on YouTube at some point so that
Okay.
uh, people can have access to it um, and watch it whenever they want and whenever they have doubts. So,
Sounds good.
yeah, I hope it
Amazing.
helped and it's helped people.
Me too. Cool.
All
So I
right.
think we'll leave it here, but we will have to do a part two sometime. So there's that.
Definitely. We can do it once I do the Ritu
Let's,
Charya, the seasonal chart.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we
Cool.
can.
Let's
Oh,
do
people
that.
liked it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you for tuning
watching.
in.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kriti. This has been a lot of fun. I'm
Thank you,
gonna
Lara.
go now and talk to you. And thank you, everybody that watched us.
Thank
Much
you.
love.
Bye bye.
Bye.